Good morning, students. Hope all of you are fine. In today's lecture, we will discuss chapter 4 of this book of Civics, and name of this chapter is Working of Institutions. Right? So, in this chapter, Working of Institutions, in this chapter particularly, we will read about like we know that democracy, it is not just about that people electing their ruler, but in democracy the rulers, they also have to follow some rules and procedures. Like, as you know, it is mentioned in our constitution that rulers, they will rule our country under the guidelines mentioned in the constitution. So these elected people, these elected representatives, they have to work according to the rules and regulations that are mentioned in our constitution. So this chapter is particularly about the working of such institutions in a democracy. Like somehow we have read something about these institutions in earlier classes also, like the parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. So all these are the institutions under which our elected representative, they govern our country. As we know that working of the national level government, it is known as the central government or union government, or we can call it government of India also. So in this chapter, like now very first topic that is mentioned, that is the how is a major policy decision taken. As you know that in democratic country like India, all the major decisions, those are taken by the elected representative. But how these decisions are taken, there is also a procedure for it. Like one example is given about a government order. This government order, it is known as the office memorandum. Right? So this example is given, you can see on this page, that on August 13, 1990, the government of India issued an order, and it was called an office memorandum. So here is the definition of this also. Sometime the question can be there, define office memorandum. So this office memorandum is a communication issued by an appropriate authority stating the policy or decision of the government. So it is known as the office memorandum. And this office memorandum, it had a number, and it has a number and date also, and the joint secretary and officer in the Department of Personnel and Training in the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pension signed the order. It means that like just to pass on any decision, their proper procedure is followed. So what was mentioned, that example is given of office memorandum. Now what was mentioned in this office memorandum, the example that is used here, this memorandum, it was very important and it became a source of controversy for several years. So now we will discuss that how the decision was taken and what happened later on. In this order, announced a major policy decision that was related to the reservation for OBCs, other backward classes. It said that 27% of the vacancies in civil posts and services under the Government of India are reserved for the socially and educationally backward classes, and it was known as SEBC. SEBC means socially and educationally backward classes. So SEBC is another name for all those people who belong to caste that are considered backward by the government. Till now, we have read about the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. But these were the caste other than scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Those were known as SEBC. So till that time, the benefit of job reservation was available only to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Now a new third category called SEBC was introduced. Only persons who belonged to backward classes were eligible for this quota of 27% jobs. Others could not compete for these jobs. Now we have read about this office memorandum. Now who has taken this decision to give 27% reservation to these SEBC? Now the next topic is about the decision makers. So the question arises, who decided to issue this memorandum? So it is very clear that such a big decision could not have been taken by the person who signed that document. The officer was merely implementing the instructions given by the Ministry of Personnel. We can guess that such a major decision would have involved other major functionaries in our country also. So we have already read in the previous classes about some of them, like the president. So president is the head of the state and is the highest formal authority in the country. So now we are just reading who all are the decision makers in our country. So first one is president. So as you know that president is the head of the state and the highest formal authority. Second one, prime minister is the head of the government and actually exercises all governmental powers. He takes most of the decision in the cabinet meetings. And the third one is the parliament. Parliament consists of the president and two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The prime minister must have the support of a majority of Lok Sabha members. As you know, we have read in previous classes also that how a bill become an act. If suppose we just want to bring some law, so one bill is presented in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and there are specific rules regarding that bill, that voting is there in both the houses, and even after if it is accepted by both the houses, then also it should be signed by the president. So there is a proper procedure. So like now we know the president, the prime minister and the parliament. So all these people, they involved in this decision regarding the office memorandum. And this office memorandum was the culmination of a long chain of events. Beta, any law or any changes at a national level, it takes a lot of time. So the government of India had appointed the second Backward Classes Commission in 1979 and it was headed by B.P. Mandal. If you remember, we have read about this Mandal Commission in class 8 also. Hence, it was popularly called the Mandal Commission. It was asked to determine the criteria to identify the socially and educationally backward classes in India. Now, this was the responsibility of this commission. So this was the responsibility of this commission, that to which criteria will be followed to identify these SCBC category, and what steps to be taken for their advancements. The commission gave its report in 1980 and made many recommendations, and one of these was that 27% of government jobs be reserved for the socially and educationally backward classes. So the report and recommendations were discussed in the parliament. Even you know that these recommendations, for several years, many parliamentarians and parties kept demanding the implementation of the Commission's recommendation. As we have read, this Mandal Commission was appointed in 1979, right? And this office memorandum was signed in 1990. So between that, whatever parliamentarians were there, political parties were there, they demanded the implementation of this commission's recommendations. Then came the Lok Sabha election of 1989. In its election manifesto, the Janata Dal promised that if voted to power, it would implement the Mandal Commission report. As you know that election manifesto are the promises that are made by the political parties. They just give their views that if they will come to the rule, that what all steps will be taken by them. So this promise was made by the Janata Dal that if they will come to the power, it would implement the Mandal Commission report. And what happened? The Janata Dal did form the government after this election, and its leader VP Singh became the Prime Minister, and several developments took place after that. As you know, whenever such kind of important decisions are taken at national level, so some controversies are also there, because India is the largest populous country, so few people, no one just want to give up their share. So that is why there were so many oppositions also regarding this Mandal Commission implementation. So regarding that topic, we will read in next lecture. So till here, hope all of you have understood this topic. Thank you and have a nice day.